Okay. Now, apparently, there's a certain YTPC uploader who took exception to the comments I made in my last video regarding the contempt and hatred that Andre Ward, or should I say, the harsh criticism that Andre Ward has been receiving ever since he's been, active since 2015. Okay. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. We all know who this uploader is. It's Shawn Newton, aka the guy who thinks he knows everything about boxing, but he's failed to mention anything about Sugar Ray Robinson's career, even though he rates Sugar Ray Robinson probably the greatest of all time. Which I will get to later in the video to close it out, because you will not believe the things he said about Robinson. Okay? He made a video in response to me talking about, I told you, wow, which is the title. Calling me out, saying that I never criticized the other demographic, in which he lumped me into, which is a cowardly way of putting things, Shawn. Okay, when you keep mentioning that, I want you to say African Americans, I want you to say blacks, okay? Stop being a coward and stop trying to, sugarcoat your code word, other demographic, okay? Be a man and grow up for once, all right? But I'm going to be very calm, cool, and collective here, because I'm going to debunk every single argument that you made in your video about me and Ward, Golovkin, which I am going to get on you about, and so forth. Okay, it seems like we keep doing this. It's like a broken record. All right. So it's funny though, because before I could block you, you blocked me because you didn't like the last schooling in the comment section I gave you a while back when I made one response video to you regarding Andre Ward's, because you've been crying and bitching about Andre Ward's victory since it's been 2 weeks now. You're still crying about it, and yet you have the nerve to say that I'm crying about the criticism that Ward is getting. Well, hey, you can call it crying all you want to, but it's a legitimate fact. Okay. Now, anyways, let's get down to it. All right. It seems like you're still pissed off that Andre Ward is still receiving. Actually, not still receiving. He received a higher purse than Sergey Kovalev. All right. Yeah, Ward got $5 million, and Kovalev got $2 million. All right. But if you break this down, the reason I believe the purse was handed down was based on a record by record basis or achievement basis. Okay. For example, Sergey Kovalev, though he was unified champion of the light heavyweight division, he wasn't nearly as accomplished as Andre Ward. I mean, he is accomplished, but not quite as accomplished. You have to look at their amateur pedigree. You have to also look at their record of accomplishment as a pro. Yes, Kovalev beat 2 linear champions. He captured unified belts and so forth. And he beat, let's see, how many world champions he's beaten? He's beaten 4 world champions. He's beaten Cleverly. He's beaten Hopkins. He's beaten Pascal. That's actually 3 world champions. That's about it. He's beat 3 world champions. As opposed to Andre Ward's defeated 5 world champions. He cleaned out his division at Super 6. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He's a very great and highly skilled amateur. Okay? He was a linear champion. He beat 2 pound-for-pound fighters, and Kovalev did the same thing as well. So basically, that's the reason why I believe the purses was handed out based off that alone. But mind you, you should know that Kathy Duva, who's the promoter of main events, was the lead promoter onto this promotion. Okay? She's the one that approved the purse. She's the one who selected the venue that you guys keep crying about in Vegas. She was the one who approved of the judges that was assigned to the fight by the Nevada Athletic State Commission, or Nevada State Athletic Commission. Okay? So you guys need to be directing that towards Ward. No, you guys need to direct your criticism. You, sir, need to be directing your criticism towards Kathy Duva for that. Okay? Now, another thing I wanted to point out is that it's not been, you make it seem like it's unprecedented that a challenger should get more of a bigger purse split than the champion. Well, let me remind you, sir, that Oscar De La Hoya, who was the challenger at the time, fought for Bernard Hopkins for the linear and the undisputed middleweight championship back in 2004. Oscar De La Hoya received a 70% split, and Bernard Hopkins got $10 million guaranteed. While he was coming off the biggest win of his career, he beat the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter at the time, who was Felix Trinidad, the same guy who beat Oscar De La Hoya. All right? Now, the reason why De La Hoya got the bigger amount is because he was the bigger draw. He you could say was he was a multi-division world champion. He's beaten many pound-for-pound fighters, and he was a unified linear champion in one division below, which is at 154, light middleweight. So that would justify why he, as a challenger, would get a higher purse split than Bernard Hopkins. Okay? Now, you also called me out and said that I never criticized those who criticized Triple G. Actually, I did. My video's still up. Look at it. In fact, you commented on that video a long time ago. It's a video where I expressed out that, look, the criticism between, for Wilder and Golovkin is way over the top and it needs to stop on both sides. I've said it, okay? But the reason why that Golovkin is getting criticism more so is because guys like you are putting him over guys like Hopkins and Hagler, shit on their careers, knowing that Golovkin hasn't even accomplished anywhere near the things that they've done. Nowhere near it. But when we point that out, you call it hate. But when you turn around and criticize people like Hopkins, like Hagler, like Andre Ward, you call it fair criticism. It's all fact, the word that you like to use all the time, facts, right? So you can't have it both ways, like I always say. You can't have this double standard when people points out legitimate criticism towards a guy like Gennady Golovkin or even Sergey Kovalev, by that matter, and then turn around and say, well, the things I say about Andre Ward or Bernard Hopkins or Marvin Hagler or Guillermo Rigondeaux is all fact. Okay. Now, you were crying and bitching in your last video about me addressing the contempt and hatred about Andre Ward. You're saying that it's nonsense. It's nonsense, blah, blah, blah. But here you are commenting on my page, even though I can't see these comments. However, I've been able to retrieve it because there's one way to do it. You said here, quote, the reason why people feels that Ward is getting all the contempt and hate is because he shouldn't have won 3 belts from a champion in the fight where he was taken out of his game plan for 65% of the fight and knocked on his ass and beat down with the jab throughout. Now, clearly you was on drugs that night, and you clearly was smoking a lot of crack cocaine, or you was on alcohol, because I don't know what fight you were watching, but one of my commenters, Boo Boo, shout out to him, by the way, he commented at you and say, okay, so basically based off your assessment, this is a reason to hate him. Okay, you clearly didn't watch the vid, which is my vid. Okay, so he called you out on that, and you didn't respond to him. Typical. And then you also come at me, and then you want to say that I never addressed the Lomachenko hate. Well, first things first, Lomachenko wasn't receiving any criticism after the fight with Nicholas Walters. Maybe a couple people were, I won't deny that, but a lot of LDBC channels that you like to refer to a lot, they gave Lomachenko full praise and credit for that win. So I don't know again, you must be smoking crack cocaine all day long and drinking, man. I don't know what you on. They have given him praise. I gave him praise. I picked Lomachenko to win that fight. Go back to my previous video before the fight. I said that he was going to win. Okay? But the reason why he's getting hate now is because people like you are trying to rationalize the matter. And you always want to make this a race issue. Well, why aren't you policing comments like this in the comment section? As you can see here. You always talk about race. You always talk about other demographic or stirring up trouble. But really, why are you failing to police guys like this who are making comments like this on your page? Why? I don't want to hear this crap about, I can't control the things they said on my channel. Oh, yeah, you can, Shawn. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You choose not to. Because you agree with them. Alright? Now, another thing I want to address is that, go back to the Lomachenko situation. The reason why Lomachenko is getting some hate now is because you and others, like I said, are racializing the situation. You're putting him pound for pound number 1, knowing he hasn't even accomplished even close to. After 8 pro fights, you're going to put him pound for pound number 1, even though he hasn't even accomplished nowhere near as Roman Gonzalez or Andre Ward is concerned. Nowhere near it. So that is a legitimate argument to dispute. But you want to call it hate because we dispute it. Okay, fine. But again, I won't deny that there's people who won't give Lomachenko credit for anything. And I think that's absurd. You got to give him credit for something. Yes, he's able to beat he's been able to become a 2-division world champion within less than 10 pro fights, which is amazing. Not knocking him for that. Not at all. Okay? But to sit here and say that he's not pound for pound number 1, And you call that hate? Now that's crazy coming from you. But it's not surprising. Okay? Now you keep mentioning that, oh, you know, we're going back to this whole fiasco with Andre Ward and Gennady Golovkin situation. You keep saying that, first of all, Gennady Golovkin was trying to fight Carl Froch. Why should he fight Andre Ward? Why should he fight Andre Ward? Well, Carl Froch was the moneymaker. Well, first of all, dummy. First of all, if you see you are suffering memory lapse. It was Golovkin and his team who called out that whole division that Andre Ward once competed in. Andre Ward was a top guy. All he did was respond to the challenge. But what did Golovkin and his team do? They said, yeah, we'll fight him. He wanted to fight Andre Ward. But he wanted a catch weight. As opposed to Carl Froch, he was willing to give Froch the full weight. Now, Carl Froch, on the other hand, you keep saying that, well, this is a business. This is a business. You need to go after the big money fights. You know, Triple G shouldn't be going after guys like, shouldn't be, going after guys like Andre Ward. Why should he? Well, first of all, you could say the same for Carl Froch. Carl Froch didn't want to fight Triple G at the time. Why? Because Carl Froch had a very tough career. Carl Froch has beaten the very best of his division. The only guy he didn't beat was Andre Ward. Carl Froch was looking for a big money fight. And guess who he was going to get that from? Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. That's who he wanted. And yes, Golovkin wanted him too. But let's be honest, Golovkin isn't a draw. He doesn't bring anything to the table. Yes, the guy can sell tickets, but what about the biggest line share that everybody's looking for? The pay-per-views. He's not a pay-per-view crossover star. Chavez Jr. is. That's a fact. You can dispute that all you want to, but that's a fact. So you can't say that Triple G is a justification of going after a big money fight, while in the same breath, you can't say that Carl Froch is not in that same right to do that as well. All right? Another thing I wanted to address. You said that I say that the hate, the contempt that Andre Ward is getting is much worse than Triple G. No, I didn't say that, dummy. I didn't say that. All I'm saying is point out the bizarre behavior that you and others are conducting towards Andre Ward after that win against Sergey Kovalev. After the win. And I specifically said that you don't have to like the guy. I'm not saying you have to like him. I said just give him some respect for what he did. That's all I'm saying. While you and others have chastised him and criticized him and said that he will never step up and take the challenge. And he did. Not once you or everyone else have you retracted anything you said about him leading up to that fight with Kovalev. Not once. And here you are coming in with another lie saying that, well, I'm not sure if it's a lie, but here you are saying that, well, there's plenty of channels that praise Andre Ward. Really? They praise Andre Ward for fighting Sergey Kovalev? Now, I won't deny there was commenters that said it, but who were the channels that specifically retracted the things they said about Andre Ward and gave him praise for taking the fight with Sergey Kovalev, regardless of how they felt about the decision? Point those out to me right now, and I'll take a look at it. Wow. Oh boy, you just can't let this go, can you? Can you? Oh well, before I close this video out, I have to say one thing. Maybe you should stop. You say that I like to twist things a lot. Well, that's not true. Maybe you need to stop twisting things, and maybe you should work on your memory. I mean, again, you are getting up in age, so maybe the Alzheimer's is kicking in on you. I would like to point out that you should study more on Sugar Ray Robinson a bit more, because the last time I gave you advice on it, you said that, well, Sugar Ray Robinson is a guy who was 48-0 at one point. He fought nobodies before he fought Jake LaMotta. Well, stupid, you do realize you didn't understand who Tommy Bell and Artie Levine and Kid Golovkin were they? Or Bob Olsen. Now, those guys were very well known, and Robinson fought and beat those guys before he fought LaMotta. Wow. I just thought I'd throw that in there just for the hell of it. So, my point is, and I've said this once, I said it again, that you cannot have a complete double standard where you say that it's okay for me to criticize one fighter and call it legit, but while me, as you want to call me, the other demographic, does the same thing, it's a problem. It's hate. It's No praise whatsoever. I mean, whatever you say, man. You're off the wells. I'm out. I'm done.